Today's reading for inspired content is another two stories, short stories from this volume. This time we're looking at heroic fantasy, and the first one will be The Sword of Welleran from 1908 by Lord Dunsany, and the second one will be The Five Black Swans from 1973 by Sylvia Townsend Warner. I'll take a look at those and then give my feedback and thoughts and ideas that inspired. So, see you on the other side. Alright, so we've got another two short stories that we have to cover quickly here because there's 6 points for each of them. So let's do this. Sword of Welleran. I'm gonna give this probably a 5.6 out of a 7.6. The story didn't really do much for me, and it really didn't seem to go anywhere, and it was just sort of a flat hit at the end for me. But it had some interesting ideas, and it made me think of some things as we went along through the story as to what might happen. And those ideas taken in a new direction for me lead to these ideas. A fantasy city where the people have no rulers. When need for rulers or generals arise, they hold a ceremony, like voodoo ritual, where they summon the spirits of the founders into themselves, and then their weapons are thorny weapons covered in the zombie toxin, and so they turn their opponents into zombies by hitting them. Supposedly they die of the hit from the weapon, and then they become zombies. The zombie poison is actually thought to be based on a concoction that leaves somebody mindless and obedient, but not actually dead. So their city is kept running by a slave caste of zombie people taken in battle by the spirits of the generals who founded the city. So that was the first idea that came to me. A city held captive by a curse where their only way to be free of it is for somebody to conquer them. And all who attempt to do so find that the halls of the heroes, where the weapons and armor of the founding generals or whatever, call out and draw all the men from the city into them and don the armor and grab the weapons and battle for the city once again, and then conquer the territories the armies came from. So the city's always conquering whole territories and powerful, and then draws back into itself, and the people can never be free of this cycle until somebody manages to conquer them. The legendary hero of the city is somebody who never wanted to be a hero or a legend, and he never wanted to fight, he never wanted to kill, he never wanted to conquer, and he never wanted to slay any opponent in battle. And he's haunted by the fact that over and over again through his story he had to do these things, and you only find this out centuries later when he's revered as the great conquering hero. A great city with no army, seemingly ripe for conquest. And when the conquering army rides in, they are welcomed and granted ownership freely. And in order to maintain that ownership, they must prevent some of the loose cannons the mercenary units they brought with them from destroying this new thing they now own. And at the same time, they must defend their territories from encroaching armies elsewhere. And so they kill themselves defending this thing they've just conquered. And in killing themselves to do it, they leave the city undefended again. It's sort of like a vampiric city. You think you're going to conquer it and gain it, but what it's really doing is sapping your life and using you to protect itself. Riding into a city where the only opponents you encounter actively refuse to kill you, trying to drive you away, and on a few occasions begging you to take them with you. And when you finally conquer the city and you get inside, there's no way to leave. No part of the city can be destroyed, broken, scratched, or damaged, and nobody inside of it dies. They can't kill themselves, they can't kill each other. It's some kind of blessing somebody cast early on that went horribly, horribly wrong, and they can't escape it now. In this story, there's a boy who worships the heroes of the past. And part of those stories are that those heroes ride out to the graveyard of the heroes, sort of like the elephant graveyard that people make the myth about. But this is a hero's graveyard. Well, what if this young boy went on a quest and found the hero's graveyard? And in it are all the relics and all the markers of the heroes of the past. Finding the relics is not the problem. Finding new heroes to carry those and do new heroic things turns out to be the quest. I like the idea of the quest being finding heroes in a world that no longer has them anymore. They've all died and gone into the past. I like that idea. Moving into Black Swans. This story was not as impressive to me. It seems to set up a good setting, but the story was, I had no investment in it. So, I mean, I might try to see if there's more from the author, because the setting sounds like it would be a great setting. I'm probably going to give it a 7.2 out of a 9.5. So, the ideas for this come from twists on what they had in the story and playing around with the setting ideas. I like the idea of a setting in which there are winged fairies in modern times. Only my feeling is it'd be more fun if somehow all the fairies had to come into our world and interact with us in some fashion and adapt to our lifestyles. And I kind of like the idea of them being tiny fairies rather than human-sized or small human-sized fairies. A story where the heir to rule is decided by a quest set by the dying monarch. And all are permitted to participate in the quest, even outsiders, children, old people, disabled people. All of these people are given the chance to participate in the quest. And what that means, you could do a story about people who are least expected to go on these quests because they're never expected to succeed going anyway. And even if they don't succeed in the quest itself is something that emboldens them or empowers them in a way that is a worthwhile story. I like that in this story the elves go about their business as professional, ordinary, magical beings, going about it as if normal people go about their lives. And in amongst them are these two sort of changelings, these adopted humans who are prankish and do silly things and cause trouble. And it makes me think of a story where it's a kingdom or a world of elves and fantasy creatures plagued by the mischievous humans from another realm that pop in and do tricksterish things. I think that twist on things would be kind of fun. As this is a story of a monarch seeking to name her heir to rule the kingdom, there's this part of the story where they make reference to her strange fascinations and how she's acquired a pet monkey, and they don't do much with it, but I'm like, when I'm reading this, my first thought is she's going to name the monkey as the next ruler. It didn't happen. What if it did? There's a part of me that thinks of like the monkeys that are worshipped in temples as gods or emperors in some of the Asian regions. So that's a possibility. What about taking that same idea a little differently, where somewhere along the lines in history somebody named an animal as the heir to rule over the kingdom, and it was deemed the only way to make that happen was to essentially magically uplift the creature. Put the animal on par with themselves by upgrading its ability to function to a human or elven level. I think that would be a very interesting setting. It may also be interesting to have a story of coming into that setting 3 or 4 animal rulers later and seeing what that means for the setting. Alrighty, so those are the ideas from this book. Hope you were inspired by something, and I'll see you for the next episode.